This week, I'm making something that was requested in the comments. Picpacto asked me to make some rumali roti with butter chicken, and I had no idea what the rumali roti was. So I went online to have a look. It was a nice big Indian flatbread. And then I was looking at some more comments, and Hot Dog TSB asked if I could make some birria tacos. So here you are, fellas. I made a Birria Rumali Roti Quesadilla. Okay, so we're gonna start off cutting up the meat. Now I got some pork shoulder here, and it doesn't look all that fatty, so I'm not gonna trim any of this fat off. I'm gonna leave it all on there, and we're gonna cut it up into big chunks like that. So I've got all my meat chunked up here, and now I'm just gonna go ahead and lightly salt everything. Now I wouldn't put too much salt over the meat at this stage, because like always when I braise meat for a long time, I don't like to aggressively salt at the start because, you know, as sauces reduce and all that, it could end up over salted at the end. But we do need to put some salt on at the start. So next, we're gonna get the chili sorted out. Now I've got 3 different types of chili here. Now, the first one in the front here is the chipotle morita. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Essentially, a smoked jalapeno. Well, not essentially, it is. It's a jalapeno that's been smoked. The second one's over here, Guajillo. And finally, Ancho in the back here. So today, I'm gonna take all these out and not put any of the seeds in. I'm gonna try and get the full flavor of the chili and, you know, not a whole bunch of spice. I think it'll overpower the pork too much. Had some water up to a boil. Now I'm gonna add all my chilies in, like that. I left a few of the seeds behind because, you know, it'll be all right. I'm gonna pop the lid on. I'm gonna let this steep for 10 minutes. Okay, my chilies have been steeping away for about 8 minutes. Ooh, got a nice little face full of smoky smelling chilies right then. Anyway, so I'm gonna use these little mini San Marzanos that I've just cored out because these are the tomatoes I always buy because they're tasty. All right, we're gonna pop these in, pop the lid back on, and we're just gonna let these steep for another few minutes. Got my blender set up. Now to this, I'm gonna add some onion and garlic. Traditionally, you should be using white onion, but red onion is what I've got, so that's what I'm putting in there. Then next, we're gonna transfer all of the chilies and the tomatoes to the blender as well. Now, some of the liquid that we use to steep the chilies in, we're gonna put a little bit of that in. Now, we're just gonna put enough of this in so it gets a nice smooth blend, which I know it's gonna need some, so I'm gonna add 2 ladlefuls to it to start with. Now, because it's hot, I'm gonna remove the center piece of my lid, and then we're gonna blend this till it's nice and smooth. All right, once you've blended it all nice and smooth, we'll jump on to the next step. So now I've got my pot I'm gonna be cooking the meat in, and I'm gonna add some high smoke point neutral oil. And add a good amount because we're gonna need the fat at the end after it's all said and done. So now I'm just gonna get the meat, and we're gonna put it in, and we're gonna brown it all over. Once you got all your meat browned off, we're gonna make up a little sachet full of spices. So we'll set this to the side, and we'll plop down our cheesecloth. We're gonna add 1 stick of cinnamon, a couple of cloves, some peppercorns. Now I'm using 3 colors here, but you could also use just black. And some cumin seeds. And we'll add a bit of dried thyme in there as well. Once you got them all in there, we'll just get the corners all pinched up. We'll give it a bit of a twist. And we'll get some butcher's twine. Make sure all your edges are in there. And we'll just tie this up. Once you've got it all wrapped up, it should be a nice little package like that. So I got my pot back on the heat. And as you can see on the camera, I've got a good amount of oil in the bottom. So now we're just gonna get the chili mixture in, and we'll cook this off for a couple of minutes. So as this is blipping away here, you wanna scrape up all the fond that was built up on the bottom of your pot as well. Be careful because this will start to bubble and splat all over the place. So the chili paste has been blubbing away for a few minutes. Now I'm going to add some stock. Now I'm going to use a store-bought one. I couldn't find any pork, so I'm using this veal stock that should be just fine. I'm going to pour that in. I'll go in with a second jar too. So I'll just give that a little stir around to make sure it's all incorporated. All right, now I'm going to start nestling all the pork in. Once you get all the pork in, I'm going to pour any juices that were come about while the meat was on the side there and plop in our little spice pouch here. Get that nestled in somewhere amongst the meat, wherever it fits. Okay, to the pot, we're also gonna add some Mexican oregano. And then this is already up to a slight simmer, so we'll pop the lid on. And I'm gonna stick this into a 150-degree preheated oven. Okay, to make the bread, I'm gonna be using my stand mixer. So I'm gonna add the milk in, then we're gonna plop in the flour. As always, I like to put my liquids on the bottom when I'm using a stand mixer because I feel like it incorporates everything better. I'm gonna add some sugar and salt and a little bit of oil. Now we'll get this closed up, turned on, get everything combined. As always, after you've had it mixing for about a minute or minute and a half there, stop it, give it a little sides a little scrape down. Make sure you're getting everything combined. I've had the dough mixing for about 7 or 8 minutes now. Now I had it running on speed 3 on my Kenwood stand mixer. So we're just gonna get the stand mixer out the way. So we're gonna get the dough out onto the work surface. We're just gonna give it a little knead by hand, just to make sure it's all come together nicely. Now your dough should be nice and smooth, and the bowl should be clear, like that. So we're just gonna bring this into a nice tight little bowl. Then we're gonna plop it back into the bowl of the stand mixer. Now this is a very important step. You wanna cover it with a damp towel and you wanna let it rest for at least 2 hours. And that'll let the dough relax and it'll let us roll it out nice and thin later on. And we'll come back in 2 hours. My meat's been cooking away in the oven there for right on 3 hours and it's ready. So you know it's ready when you pick a piece up with your little tongs and you give it a squeeze and it just falls apart, just like that. So we're gonna leave this in the pot and let it rest, because if we take the meat out of the pot now and shred it up, it's gonna dry out and be nasty. So we're gonna let it sit on the bench for about an hour, just to fully rest. Okay, the dough's been rested away for a good 2 hours now. As you can see, nice and sticky. So now I'm just gonna get it out the bowl onto a lightly floured surface. Now I'm gonna divide this into 8 equal portions. So I've got my trusty scale here, and I'm gonna go ahead and get it divided out. Once you've got your dough divided out, you just wanna roll them into nice little tight balls like this, and you want to set them aside under the damp cloth that you had them on. So before we start rolling out the roti, we're going to prepare the wok, which I've just got some water here, and we're going to heavily salt it, and then we'll give it a little mix, and we'll get all that salt dissolved into the water. So I've got my wok inverted on the hob, and it's on full blast underneath. So now with the salt water, you're just going to flick it over it, and then the water should evaporate instantly, and as you see, it leaves the salt behind, and this is going to create a nice non-stick surface for us. Okay, so we want to dust the work surface, then we're going to dust our rolling pin, and then we're going to start rolling out the dough, and it's going to be rolling out as thin as we can get it. So every time I do a pass over it with the rolling pin, I just give it a quarter turn, and then roll it out again, and that should, hopefully, as we keep doing it, round circle. So it's a little bit ugly, but it is super thin. Apparently, the reason why it's called rumal, they say it's because it's got to be as thick as a handkerchief. Okay, so now we just lay the dough on top of the wok. Now it shouldn't take too long to cook, and I've just got a tower here where I'm just going to lightly push down on it so it gets good contact with the wok. Should only take about 30-40 seconds to cook each side. Now we're going to give it a flip on the other side, and we'll go ahead and use our little tea towel here, get good browning. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and flip it one more time, and just any edges that I feel are undercooked, I'm just going to push down just so it gets cooked through. So it's looking pretty good. Just going to go ahead and fold it like I see on the YouTube them do, into a nice little package. And there we have it, one cooked rumal roti. Okay, so now I'm going to shred the meat. It's been rested away for about an hour, maybe a little bit more. So I'm just going to take it out piece by piece, transfer it over into this little dish, and just shred it apart. Nothing too technical going on here. And obviously, we're going to have a little taste as we go. Good things that are about to happen. Turned out to be more meat than I thought, so I put it in a bigger dish. Now I've got it all shredded up. Now I'm just going to get some of the sauce here and mix it into the meat. Not all of it, just some of it, so the meat stays nice and juicy. Okay, once you've got all the sauce mixed in, you just want to go ahead and give it a taste and season it to your liking. So I got my rumal roti laid out on the board, and I've already separated, well, as best I could, separated the fat from the lovely dipping sauce. Usually you just dump the whole taco into the sauce, but because these are a lot bigger, can't really do that. So I'm just gonna get a teaspoon, and I'm gonna lay it on the bread like that, and then we'll brush it all over. Okay, I got my bread all painted up with the oil, and now I'm gonna place that side down into the pan, just like that. Now we're gonna lay on some cheese. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but that's the cheese I'm using. I'm gonna lay down a good amount, then we put down a good amount of the meat. I'm going on with a little bit of pickled onion, some coriander, then I'm gonna sprinkle on a little bit more cheese. That was just a bit of cojita. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. And we're simple enough, fold it over, and then cook it till cheese is nice and melty. Okay, when everything's nice and gooey and cooked through, you're ready to eat. I've only ever had a birria taco once before, but I'm pretty sure you gotta dip it like this, and then just slam it down. That's good. That is pretty damn good. I'd never made a roti like that before. I had to actually test if my stove could actually heat the wok up when it was inverted like that. And it did. I tell you what though, this is one juicy quesadilla, and bigger than a taco, which I ain't mad about.